Authors Write Aloud, where we're going to talk a little bit about character development tonight. Thanks to Timothy bringing that discussion in a little bit from his previous panel. We're going to talk a little bit about that and a little bit about OWS SciCon that's coming up this weekend. And we'll talk a little bit about some other things. So I'd like everybody to introduce themselves. We'll start with Brian. How are you?
I'm doing all right. Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there. And if you're a single father, happy Mother's Day to you as well. I'm Brian Tan. I am an author, audiobook narrator, podcast host, and general do everything guy. I am with Burning Willow Press. I am the author of the Path of Redemption series, which are paranormal, urban fantasy, black comedy, and action with a little bit of horror thrown in. Book one is entitled The Enforcer. Book two entitled The Hunted. Those are going to be getting the re-release treatment with Burning Willow Press probably in the next couple of months. Also, the author of the John Baker Chronicles, spinoff to Kendra Souter's Permutation Archives. Book two, Unbreakable Mind, is available now. Book one, Invincible Heart, will be getting the re-release treatment June 15th. So we're just a little over a month away of that. Pre-orders for digital are available now. As soon as we get the info on print, I'll have that for you as well. And the crime thriller erotica title Ed and Livy, TBD on the re-release of that. And I'm also the co-host of the Plotaholics podcast with Shane Wilson.
We're
Wow,
gonna
that's
have
a
to
lot to
get
go
you and
through.
Shane on here to talk about Plotaholics. We might have to actually get you, Shane, and Joe on here.
Yeah, Joe is the unofficial third plotaholic. He is the third plotaholic. Yeah, it's a if I may say so myself, it's an awesome show. Film review from an author's point of view, and we talk. I wore the shirt yesterday, but I would be wearing the Plotaholic shirt that I had made for me, but I wore it yesterday for my birthday, so apologies. But yeah, it's a lot of fun. We're actually going to be recording our next episode in the next day or so, and it'll be available this week.
Excellent. All right, Timothy, let's hear about
Okay.
you and your books.
All right. I'm Timothy Bates, and I'm the genre manager for fantasy at the LWS SciCon. I'm also the executive director of the event this year. That we can be found there at owscycon.ourrightside.com. There's a lot of book-related events happening this coming weekend, and we'll be covering more of those later with Richard. I'm also the author of the Shadows over Seattle series, both short stories and novels. The novels will be coming up very soon, I hope. Also a book blogger and reviewer. So catch me at http timothybatesonauthor.com, and hopefully I'll be seeing you guys around. But meantime, let's hand over to Roxanne.
Hi everyone, my name is Roxanne Sanose and I want to greet everyone like a happy Mother's Day. And I am the book author of Time Travel. It's a young adult science romance novel. It's available on barnesandnoble.com, Amazon, and Voodoo.
All righty. So let's dive right into a little bit of character development. Now, Brian, your stories are more horror, correct?
Um, I wouldn't so much just stick with saying horror. I do have I'm working on a horror novel. I would just say mostly just general fiction and action. I guess probably the better way to use it.
Now, how do you developing your characters? How do you develop them for your story? Do you go in the fantasy realm where they got to do a complete character write up?
I When I think up a character, a lot of it is more in my dreams. They tell me who they are. Depending on if I don't know the character all that well, I'll probably write up a quick dossier of them, height, weight, but they'll tell me what their motivation is. They'll tell me what they want to do, how they want to do it, and So that's usually what it is, and I'll just sit and think about it, depending on who the character is, what sort of situation they're in, why they're in that situation that they're in, and so forth. My character Bryce Creed, he started out as a reoccurring nightmare, and then became a LARP character, and then a tabletop character, and then so I already knew who he was and what he was about. I had like close to 10 years of experience with him before I finally put him in a story. As far as John Baker, I did him a little bit differently. When you if and when anyone once looks to read Invincible Heart, you'll understand what I mean when I say he started off with a complete and utter clean slate, and so that's sort of how that went. So it really depends on how the characters, long story short, present themselves to me, as far as in dream or just muse inspiration.
Nice, nice. How about you, Timothy? Because I know your muses like to talk over you.
Not only do my muses like to talk over me, they like to quit their jobs on me. Actually, I'll be fair. My muse is actually my wife. She actually created a lot of the material I'm working with in the Shadows over Seattle series, and it was reading one of her stories that actually gave me the spin-offs for a lot of my work. Richard Parsons came out of I like this particular character, but I really don't want to steal him scenario. It was her alpha werewolf shifter for the city. And I thought, well, okay, so I want to do something different. What can I end up with? And I ended up with a streetwise, smart-mouthed idiot. Basically, this kid he grew up on the streets. I knew where he was coming from, but I had a lot of issues going back and looking at why. So when I started writing the novel, first of all, he actually basically turned around to me and said, "Hey, this isn't the story you need to be writing. You want to tell my backstory before you tell this one." That's how the short stories came to be. And it's actually a lot more interesting because now I can just jump into his mind space and do interviews as him, or take over events and basically be him for the session rather than myself. But like Brian, I actually had a lot of experience background-wise of tabletop and LARPing and all those sort of things, but I've never actually thought of putting one of those characters on paper. So that's an interesting way of looking at it. But for me, I think a lot of my characters come up out of necessity. I've got an idea of the story, and it's a case of, well, who would work well in this scenario? So yes, there's a little bit of planning, but as I told everyone else earlier, a lot of the time my characters will sit back and derail everything I have set up. Because at the end of the day, they really do drive the story, and they have to present themselves and tell you who they are.
Absolutely.
No,
That's true.
let's slide over to Roxanne and talk about yours a little
But
bit and how you write and develop your character.
I did mine by just being creative because just like Timothy said, it's about driving the story. So I really connect my character to the story because my book is about time travel. So I connect that with Andrew Thompson, who knows about time travel, who is an inventor of a time machine. So it's about being creative and relating your character to the story, and that's how I got my character development. It's about connectivity and just like Timothy said, sharing the story.
Now, I'll go into mine in a little bit, but have any of you, or do any of you, write yourself into your characters?
No.
To a point, yes. I'll have to admit. I usually draw on an aspect of myself that I want to explore more. So some of my characters I actually use as a means of exploring my own personality and background. So one of the reasons I ended up with identifying with the wolf shifters, I'm from London, but I'm now living in Alaska. So I've got very different viewpoints I'm living with, very different living conditions, and it's given me an interesting perspective looking at it from the point of view of, well, this is a character who realistically lives in two different worlds. So yes, I do put a bit of myself in there.
Oh yeah, I've got a lot of me in a lot of my characters. Strangely enough, though, my character Bryce Creed, like I said, he was a reoccurring nightmare, and he and I had a very, very interesting relationship in my teen years. Those who have seen me and at any given time on Joshua Robertson's Writer Imperfect have heard this story. When I was 17, going on 18, I was institutionalized due to nervous breakdowns and depression. And at one point, I ceased being myself and only would answer to the name Bryce. And wouldn't and I kept telling people that that Bryce killed Brian. So the character Bryce Creed and I have a very, very interesting relationship, and there are, I would say, like, Bryce is all him, but so a little bit of Bryce sort of imprinted onto me in that regard. John Baker is not like me really at all. He sort of has a sarcastic type of sense of humor, so I guess he's a little bit like me in that regard, but he's very, very stoic, kind of alien in his methods. My lead character, Ed, in the book Ed and Livy, up until my latest book that I'm working on, he was the character that was most like me at that period of time that I wrote the book. So I guess there are little bits and pieces of me in these characters. Maybe there's a bit and piece of every character within me as a person, because when I was having my emotional issues as a teenager, it was like I always heard these voices and I had these different traits, and it was just my writing muse trying to get out, or these characters trying to get out. So all of them sort of imprinted a little piece of themselves onto me.
Nice.
For me, no, I don't, because I want to use my creativity in the story. Because Andrew Thompson, she's a high school student who invented a time machine. I mean, I'm not that smart to invent a time machine, but I'm good in science. So it's about being creative, and someday I wish I can put myself in the box.
But would your time machine be in a car?
Yeah,
that's the important thing.
Flux capacitor.
Absolutely. And I don't care what they say in Endgame, Back to the Future is not bullshit.
I know. I watched Back to the Future. It's awesome. I mean, I didn't get my inspiration from that, but I love the movie.
It's a great story.
I still think they should go to
police
the
box,
Twin Pine
whichever.
Mall.
Yeah, or police box. Yes. A police box would be an awesome time machine.
Yes.
You don't have to worry about the drunks trying to go in there to use it as a bathroom.
Oh yeah.
I don't know. There's still police boxes in London, or does everyone has cell phones in England? So it's sort of like the phone booth here in America. It's like useless.
Very much so. But it depends on whether the doctor's visiting or not.
Yeah, it's a good point.
I mean, it's Christmas Day and there's a police box in London. Run.
Yeah. Well, honestly, and I'll tell you something right now. There's a lot of films that I've seen that have always made me want to go to London. Music that's made me always want to the UK. Period. What was it? American Werewolf in London, Sex Pistols. What you call it? The movie Jumpin' Jack Flash. The British consulate was really, really big in that movie. That made me want to go to England. So one of these days, I'm just going to go to the UK, and I'm like never going to come back. I'm just going to.
Well, to link British artists and Jumping Jack Flash, learn the words, Mick.
Oh my god!
Oh, that's great. Awesome. So to go into that, the reason I asked that is because a lot of mine writing at this point, going back from Pages Full of Memories, my very first book of poetry, as well as Rodeo Days, my rodeo book, and even What Happened to Me, my mini memoir, as well as Shattered Glass. is almost all of me. Really, I am the center of the characters in those books.
That's
Rodeo,
awesome.
Rodeo Days, it revolves around a lot of characters, not necessarily, it's a true book. Um, it's a collaboration of short stories from myself and 10 other rodeo contestants, whether it be bull riders, bronc riders, barrel racers, team ropers, calf ropers, and we all kind of put a collaboration of our own experiences in the rodeo, our own crashes, our wrecks, our good rides, as well as some short history of rodeo in New York. Um, that dates back to the early 40s and 50s, where they started rodeo at Madison Square Garden. Um, so we covered a lot of stuff in that book, but really it does go into me a lot in everything that I write. And I find that I think writing that way now has helped me develop my lead detective, my character in my crime novel series, Alec Dixon, and the investigation process that he goes through in the beginning of the story. It really dives into my research process on how I research my writing. And I really think that that's how I've written his investigative abilities, going into, my, and obviously using just good police work as an investigator, as a detective, but at the same time using the way that I research so much information online for these books and about the stories or the characters and stuff like that. I think that's how I've used myself in building that character.
Mhm. Do you find, Richard, that helps you visualize the character in terms of appearance better than? Because I write first person and I have a really hard time getting a visual on my main character, but the secondary characters appear clear as a bell.
That's a, I do find myself doing that, but one of the big things that I have a problem with is I start writing in first person and then it switches. And then I gotta go back and okay, I gotta fix that because then it's I, and then all of a sudden 3 chapters in I'm he said instead of I said. So for me it gets a little difficult. Sometimes I got to go back and change things. I enjoy writing in first person, but I know a lot of people don't always appreciate first person writing.
I'm not that big of a fan of first person writing, to be honest. Like, I try not to ever write in first person because I sometimes find it difficult to follow. Case in point, in when I tried reading the Hunger Games series, I found myself missing so much detail from the first person. Now, with that said, the Enforcer and the Hunted, the two books in the path of, well, just the Enforcer started out as first person journal entry narrative, and then I turned them into a third person story from there. But at the same token, there are some books that are first person that I can read and I absolutely love. S.E. Hinton's The Outsiders,
Oh,
for instance, is probably one of my favorite first person narrative stories of all time. Or even The Body by Stephen King, or Rita Hayworth in The Shawshank Redemption, really, really great. Or The Green Mile, another great first person narrative story. So I think it's just how you do it. You know what I mean? And I understand if it's from first person, only the first person can really paint the tale. So
For me, as a reader, anything is fine with me as long as I love the story. But as an author, I really find it difficult to be like a first person because I don't know what directions I'm doing as a character. So a third person is much better.
I find first person for me works really well in getting into the character's headspace. I understand the character a lot better as a result of writing that way.
yep, and I think that's probably, you can probably do something like that when you're fleshing out your characters, especially your lead characters. Like sometimes, at least with Bryce Creed and even with John Baker, and even when I'm doing an audiobook, I'll ask the character who they are. And then the character will speak back to me. And next thing you know, I'm speaking in another dialect or tone or whatever that I don't normally speak in. And so I'll kind of do something like that if I am. It's hilarious because Joshua Robertson always says that my style of writing and my style of setting up the story like makes him nervous because he's like this intricate planner and I'm just like chaos personified. I just throw the crap on the wall and however it shows up, that's the way it is. But I just thought of another first person narrative tale that I really really love. Catcher in the Rye.
Oh, that is good.
Great first person narrative. Amazing first person narrative. And it's like it's not with so much detail that you feel bombarded and you question, is this a god character? But not with so little that you can't follow what's going on. Amazing book.
Was Tuck Everlasting first person as well?
Tuck Everlasting. I'm not 100% sure. It's been so long
It's
since
been
I read that.
it's been forever since I read that one, but for some reason I thought that one was as well. I actually liked that book. That's going way back.
Yeah, it is. Oh my God, is it ever? Oh,
Third or fourth grade.
Yeah. I still remember a lot of the those old Scholastic books that you used to get in school, and they had like the really groovy order form that had the synopsis of all the books. And some of those books were actually very, very well written. Um,
I think my favorite, besides the S.E. Hinton books, my favorite stories to read, they were just fun. They were just a fun adventure. Were the Choose Your Own Adventure series.
Oh, those are great.
I
Choose Your Own
loved
Adventure
them.
stories are amazing.
I would
That
read.
stuff's coming back.
Yeah,
I
would
love
read
Dan
those.
Brown, Robert Landon series. That's my favorite.
That's awesome. I remember I got book number 100, the Choose Your Own Adventure stories, and it was like the worst day of your life or something. And it was so cool because the whole story was like you just had like this horrible day, like this horrible week at school, and then you're like sent to go stay with relatives. And one of the endings is that there was a tornado and you are on the bus that gets caught in a tornado. I'm like, holy crap, this is dark. Oh man. Oh, now I gotta go on Amazon and see if I can find that because I need that. I need
Yeah. And the interesting thing now, you go onto the phone app stores and stuff, and they've got apps which basically are nothing but choose your own adventures.
That is awesome. I want the old ones from the 80s.
Right?
Man.
Yeah.
Those
Oh,
are
they
great.
were a lot of
The
fun.
the old ones that brought you that told you find a dice.
Yeah.
I wasn't even born that time.
Yeah. Oh man, I'll
If you
tell
want
you.
to
I
continue
remember.
this journey, go to page 59.
Yeah. Yeah. To go
You
to
were
the
lucky if they were pages.
Yeah, it was like 100 and each book was like 130, between 100 and 140 pages. But they had all these different places that you could go, and a lot of those stories, you still got like the worst endings possible.
Oh yeah.
Those were like the original BioWare video games, man.
Mm-hmm.
So good, so good. Kids these days, man, they don't know what they're missing, man.
Oh,
So,
dear.
I want to kind of change gears. And I know it's tough to do that in a show like this. But this coming weekend, the 17th, 18th, and 19th, two of us are part of three of us, because Brian is involved in some sort of way.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm still like totally lost. It's my own fault.
we are we are part of a huge author event called OWS, or Our Right Side Cyber Convention, or for short OWS SciCon 2019. And there is just so much going on. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's great for marketing and getting your name out there and stuff like that. Myself personally, this is my third year, but I've taken on a major role um, behind the scenes as a CTO. Um, I do a lot of the stuff with the website, and I also am historical fiction genre manager on top of hosting my books over in the other genre category as well. So I've got my plate completely full, and I know the guy right underneath me down there, Timothy Bateson, is got his hands full completely. Um,
Just
and
a little bit.
but I wanted to talk about it a little bit because there are some people on here asking about it. The first question I saw come up on it was, what can be expected during the OWS SciCon weekend, and is it all going to be live on the OWS website?
Okay, well, talking as the organizer for the event this year, we've got live and recorded materials. Story time is all going to be recorded, so we're going to have a lot of book promos going on through that. We're putting together a whole ton. And I mean, I've got 80 plus authors signed up for story recordings. So we're going to be doing some scheduled and some after the event because there are just so many of them. We've got tournaments that are running, some starting as early as the 15th. So there's cover wars and character tournaments taking part in a large chunk of the genres. It's literally going to be brackets of character versus character, cover versus cover. It's voting by the readers, and may the best cover or character win. We've also got a lot of discussion panels running. I've just, as Richard said, right at the head of the show, I just got off one on character discussion, character development with Sarah Berman and Erin Casey, and it was absolutely fantastic fun. We're going to be doing a few more panels that will go live either before or over the course of the event. We're also taking over the Facebook group at Fantasy and Sci-Fi Readers Lounge. And really, as much as it is about getting the authors some exposure, it really is about introducing readers to some absolutely amazing books. I mean, I've worked on this now. This is my 5th year. I've gone from a participating author to actually running the show. And this year, I'm also running the fantasy genre again for the 3rd year. And I absolutely love doing this because at the end of the day, this is all about the books and the readers. It's, the authors come in, they show you everyone who they are and what they do. But at the end of the day, it's the readers we're really here for because we've got some absolutely amazing books and writers out there. And it's your chance to discover, as I like to say, possibly your next best read.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the best things about being an indie author is we're approachable to our readers. Not everyone, like me personally, I love Robert McCammon. His My favorite, shall we say, grown-up book as a kid, and it's still my favorite book to this day, is Swan Song. But I can't just get online and say, "Hey, Robert McCammon, how's it going?" Guy's a busy guy. He does his own thing. We as independent authors are so approachable. you know, our readers can approach us so easily, and I think it's a great thing for us to have this sort of huge cyber convention where we can get together and really put ourselves out there to the readers because it's difficult to get noticed as an independent author. To get noticed as an author, period, whether no matter whether you're with the big five or an independent, it's not as difficult because we don't get the publicity that television, singers, film, we don't get that kind of exposure. When was the last time you saw a book get a TV commercial? Never. I think the only time I've ever seen a book commercial was either, let you know how long ago it was either on MySpace or the early days of Facebook, and it was for one of Laurel K. Hamilton's books. That's it. I've never seen a commercial for JD Robb, or only thing for Stephen King has been movies
Mm-hmm.
based on his books.
Right.
So this is amazing publicity for the authors, and it's amazing for the authors to put themselves on display for the readers. So I mean, I'm excited for the whole event.
Yeah, there's we've got a lot of other stuff also that's on the side. Live on the website are and they're actually currently live now. Are some forum based author booths where you can go on and you click on the genre that you're interested in, and there's going to be a list of authors, and you go down, you click on the author that you want to read about. It's got an intro to them. It's got their website links, their Facebook, Instagram, so on and so forth. Excuse me. And it's got a few other things, and then underneath that you'll get book introductions, and you'll see their books, where to buy them, where to go and find them. Some of us have put in a newsletter sign up, or a possibility of a free giveaway. Come sign up for our blog or our newsletter, and we'll give you a free copy of a certain book or something like that. So that's really the author booths. There's another section in the website called Author's Alley. In Author's Alley, there is a place for pretty much anyone: readers, booktubers, bookstagrammers, editors, publishers, pretty much anybody that is involved in the business that wants to signed up, that wants to go on and offer their services. Graphic designers offering their book cover design services, editors or publicists, offering their services, publishers that micro publishers, places like Burning Willow Press with Ed Souter. Places like that can go on there and they can offer their services and say, hey, we have submissions open from this date to this date for these certain genres, things like that. So not only is it a great place to just meet other authors and network and reach the readers, but it's also a good place to network and find, some people to work with as a writer. I know that myself, I'm going to be hosting a live panel at least twice a day throughout the whole weekend. 3 to 4, even some of them will be 5-hour live video chats, unlimited to whoever signed up and for the event. Novel Ideas and Shenanigans. And it's basically what replaced Joe's Bar in previous years. It won't be a 24-hour hangout, but it will be a live video chat for us all to just kind of hang out and talk, and we can talk about our characters, talk about our books, upcoming novel ideas, and also some shenanigans and some fun. Just to give you some history, 2 years ago, the very first year of my SciCon, for when I was over at Brain to Book SciCon, Joe Compton from Go Indie Now ran out Joe's Bar. Joe, myself, and Shane Wilson hung out for 32 straight hours on live video, nonstop.
Wow.
And the comedy, the commentary, the fun. I mean, it was the most fun I'd ever had. I had a lot of fun with just 3 good authors. And
for 32 hours, you better have had a good time.
Oh, God.
A lot of stories there.
We were drinking beer. We were following the guy from Domino's. He was tracking it on his computer.
Nice.
Shane had it up. Shane had the delivery guy, and he's waiting for, I don't know, it's on one of the old videos. We're waiting for, I think it was like Miguel or Michael or something to deliver the pizza, and we're following this guy. And we had a whole commentary on waiting for this guy to show up with Domino's.
Wow. That is awesome.
We had a lot of fun. And the next morning, people had signed on to come on to the new day for the Joe's Bar, and we hadn't left yet. And they all thought they were late. They thought they missed something. And they're like, no, you ain't late. We just ain't went to bed yet.
Yeah. Said me, I'd just be like, oh, this has been fun. I'm tired. Brian, you only been here for 10 minutes.
So we got that's going to be coming up. I'm excited about it. There is some rules that I'm going to enact as of this year. Previous years, some things went south, and when you're on 24/7 for 3 days straight. Things are going to change. Subjects are going to change. But in previous years, we've got onto the politics, religion, and her
Yep.
train.
Stay away from those.
Yes.
Stay away.
And so this year, Novel Ideas and Shenanigans is going to adopt a rule that we're going to leave that on the wayside. Now, if you're a historical fiction author and your book is written about politics and you want to discuss the topic in that book, that's different.
Yeah. But
But
don't bring out your politics of 2019.
yes,
That's just gonna be, and that's one thing that I try to stay away from in any of these shows in general. Politics, religion, and everything that involves those things. Nope. I'm
So
I'm,
hard
I'm, an,
to
I'm an entertainer.
right.
Don't ask me these things. I'm an
it's so
entertainer.
hard to please people. I'm sorry for the words because a lot of disagreement, especially in the religion part.
Oh, absolutely. The
Absolutely.
religion is a big one. Everybody everybody's got their own faith in what they believe in, and I totally respect it. You know,
Hmm.
believe in what you want to believe in, but at the same time, I don't want the
Don't
show
bring
to
it
go
here.
onto a whole tangent, and so on and so forth. And in
Right.
previous years, it had, and it upset some authors. It
Yeah.
upset some readers, and it's going to. So I want to try to keep it away from that. And that's really going to be the only rules. Besides that, it's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to have a lot of fun, and of course, share our books, share our writing. As Timothy said, we're definitely going to add some, the cover wars, character battles in there, and it's just a lot. And that's fun too. Myself, I haven't participated in character battles only because of my characters aren't in a development stage where I can do that because there's a lot involved. But
See,
I've
I
done.
wouldn't do that because someone's like, "Huh, your character Bryce Creed loses." No, no, that
See,
can't.
here's the interesting thing about the character battles. We started setting them up as brackets on Brackify. So they basically became starting off as tournaments with a brief character intro. And then suddenly it took off from someone's suggestion that we actually allow the characters to do a sound off session on the forums. So if you actually go down and look under the genres, some of the genres, you'll actually see a nice little board down there that says smack talk or character sound off, and it's literally the characters going at it on the forum.
Wow,
You actually
like
get
the
to see who they are.
Wow, that is who is the Macho Man Randy?
Like it's round one. It's Richard versus whoever it is, and it's literally just the two of them smack talking each other.
Oh, so you basically took the old e-fetting format. The smack talk. That's cool, man. That's actually, you know what? I actually credit. I don't give e-fetting enough credit in my development as an author because I used to do e-fetting like crazy because I thought there was one time I thought I was going to become a professional wrestler. I was going to be the second coming of Taz, and
Oh
I was going to
God.
be badass, and it just didn't work out. So then I started e-fetting, and it was like I was making up characters and
That's
doing
funny.
all that stuff.
I actually went through some training to become a amateur professional wrestler.
Oh yeah.
Actually, right up here in upstate New York, and my gimmick was I was going to be a bull rider. I was, wandering down in the jeans and the chaps, and I have big blue cowboy hat and my bull rope, and I was going to be doing this big thing, and I actually got the opportunity to wrestle like two matches. One
Oh
under my
wow.
gimmick by myself against the Iron Sheik, and the second one was in Schenectady where I actually got to tag team with the Cowboy James Storm, because
Nice.
the group that I was looking into starting working with was looking at getting him and I together as a tag team in that faction, and but it didn't work out, and I ended up quitting the training. And the training was cheap. Oh my God, the affordability of it was great. It was the travel. It was a lot of travel, and it was taking money away from the family and everything. So
Yeah, see, I had a guy that was like getting me started on it, and our deal was he was going to pay my way into ECW. And then once I got in, I would pay him back from what I earned. And then when ECW brought a school into Beaver County, I was supposed to go there, but then the guy got picked up for tax fraud,
Oh,
and that was it. So what I didn't realize, and I learned this a couple years later when they put out the Rise and Fall of ECW from the WWF, they were taking people for free just to get new bodies out there. So I could have gone to the Beaver County School for free.
right,
Problem was, I didn't have a car to drive to Beaver County.
right.
So it's like, damn it, I could have actually met Taz. Oh well.
So, but SciCon is going to be a lot of fun. I got to go, and I'll turn a lot more of this over to Timothy. We are basically, things are going to kick off Friday morning. Now everybody's got different time zones, so we are running off of everything. You know, I had a few people had messaged me about the whole thing with time zones and with this and that. And they're like, well, why is this thing 24/7? Well, it's because it's 24/7 live for 3 straight days, because when we're in bed in New York at 9:30 p.m., it's like 2 o'clock in the afternoon in the UK.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
Or it's like yesterday in Alaska.
right.
Yeah, we actually, it's very interesting. Having started as a group of 60 authors on Goodreads, we now have over almost 250 people across the globe.
Wow.
And
Wow, and growing.
yeah, it's been enormous. I mean, in 5 years, we've grown to that point, and the number of readers we get coming on board every year just keeps growing, which is why I love doing the event so much. But I know we've got, let's see, just looking at the organizers, we've got Richard over on Eastern time. You've got me over on Alaskan time. That's 4 hours time difference. But from Richard, we've also then go east across the globe. We've got Phoebe, and I think she's over in Germany.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I think that's like another
That's, I think, 9 hours
5
ahead.
or 6 hours.
I think,
Yeah,
if I remember from living there, I think it's 9 hours ahead of me. In New
Yeah,
York.
because Richard and I are both on Eastern Standard Time, and I know she was on Writer and Perfect with me on Friday, and it was 3 o'clock in the morning there.
Oh, that's dedication.
Yeah, well, Timothy, and then what's awesome is that Timothy Lay, he's in the UK, so it's like late night for him too. It's like,
Yeah.
y'all are better than me because I ain't waking up to do
Yeah.
that. I'm sorry.
The earliest I've got up to do a panel was a 10 a.m. Eastern time panel. We did early on one SciCon, and I got up at 6 a.m. Actually, no, I got up at 4 a.m. to be awake enough and conscious for the event, for the panel.
Great.
But that's the beauty of it. I mean, we're bringing people together from all over the world.
Yeah.
And I don't think there's that many events online that can say they do that.
Right. And I mean, what's crazy is that I'll sit here and I'll say, I won't do that. But I mean, you're dedicated to something. You believe in something. You'll do anything. So
Yeah.
I totally understand.
Yeah, I mean, this is my 5th year, and I've met so many amazing people. I mean, I still talk to some of the readers who I met on the second SciCon. And, you know, it stays in touch. It's basically, like you said, it builds the community.
Right.
And it's an amazing thing to be part of. I mean, I wouldn't be doing this and devoting
time and
it's, let's see, I work a 20 to 40 hours a week, and then what I'm not doing on that, I'm either spending with my wife or doing SciCon for about 3 months of the year.
Wow.
Yeah, we've been on SciCon since February.
Yeah. We started discussing it in January, but everything was up in the air at that point, and then we kind of went into gear early March.
Right.
And, you know, you're looking at 2 months of putting all this together solidly and having 250 authors sign up. I mean, can you imagine what we do next year if we hit it right from the gate?
Yeah.
And then you get some chucklehead like me that's like, I don't even know what the hell I signed up for. I just know I put my name down.
Yeah.
What the hell I'm doing?
And we get that a lot every year with new signups. You know, it's a huge thing to jump into. But one of the things I'm looking at for next year is we will be making improvements into letting people know. They'll be getting more feedback. You know, this is what you've signed up for. there'll be reminders and things like that. So there'll be more opportunities, and every year we do something new. We've learned our lessons from every year we've done this, and we just, I'm going to be blunt. I'm going to be completely and utterly biased. We just keep getting better.
Mhm.
Wow. Just putting it out
Well,
there.
I hope next year will be a success. Yeah, you guys are the best.
And I'm all about it. I'm all about it. I mean, what's crazy is, and I think that a lot of, I would tell, and I tell a lot of people when I'm on these panels, and they say, what would your advice be for a new author? And I'd say, and I tell them all the time, man, choose your mentors wisely and get people that care about your success. Because I mean, you end up, you don't realize who knows who in this industry.
Mm-hmm.
You don't realize, like, meeting one person can really get you a career in this industry and can get you seen in this industry, and it's really important to be good to the people that you talk to, even if it's just once, because you never know who they know. I mean, like, case in point,
And you can learn
I
something from them.
right, exactly. Like, Richard, you and I met just on happenstance, what, 2 years ago?
Yeah.
And we didn't really keep up with each other, but we were always, like, the other was always in the back of the person's mind. Now, Richard came to me, hey, you want to do this show? Absolutely. And then I came to do this one tonight. So I mean, you
Right.
never know
Yeah.
who you're going to be who you're going to be
Matter
dealing
of
with.
fact, with you, I kind of lost a little bit of touch with you just because I hadn't seen you, out and about, online much, and then I spotted you on
Writer Imperfect
Writer
and
Imperfect, and then I got you on Discord over on
yeah,
Joshua's Discord, and that's where I was like, oh, hey, holy God.
yeah, he's still alive.
Here's how one person can change your life. When I was in college. I got into live role play. At the live role play event, I met a player who had met someone from Alaska. This person flew back from Wales, where she was living at the time, for an online relationship. She flew back to Alaska. Now, in the meantime, I've met this person at live role play. This person, one night, we're on Messenger or Facebook or whatever we were on, chatting away, and she goes, oh, by the way, I've got to go to the bathroom. Tim, this is Sandy. Sandy, this is Tim. You talk to each other. I'll be back.
Yeah. Now
3
you're
years
in Alaska.
later, 3 years later, I married that woman because of this mutual friend. Then discover, and this is how small the world is, that while my wife was living in Wales, she met half the people I went to college with. And I find we're still slowly finding out that she knows more and more of those people.
Well,
so when you say you don't know how one person is going to change your life, you're not joking.
Oh, absolutely.
exactly. I mean, because here's my thing. I wrote The Enforcer back in, I believe it was 06. I started working on it. I finally got The Enforcer into a full-on book by about 09, I want to say. And that was just rewrites, edits, and blah, blah, blah. Totally bombed on promoting and everything. So I quit. And I ended up, just by happenstance from an ex, started recording audiobooks. Well, I put myself out there to do audiobooks. I recorded and produced TJ Weeks's Unfleshed novel. And then he talked me into writing a short story for Painted Mayhem. I believe this was for 2016, I want to say. I have to look it up. Kendra Souter just happened to also be in that book. I just happened to say hey to her. We talked a little bit, but not anything regular. I happened to pick up her book, The Harvested, the first book in the Permutation Archives, and I got hooked. And then I got an idea from a book that I had written 3 chapters and didn't have anything else for it. And I pitched her the John Baker Chronicles Book 1 as a spinoff to the Permutation Archives. And the rest, as they say, is history. My career has continued to grow and evolve. And then I met all these other people just from going to just befriended one person in one anthology in a tale that I wasn't even gonna didn't even think I wanted to do. And now it's just grown and grown and grown. So now this is what I do. Granted, I still have to have a day job because I make nothing. But this is what I do. This is who I am. I'm an indie author. I'm a dude in the indie world of publishing.
It's a passion. Is really
Absolutely.
what it comes down to.
Absolutely.
And
You have to be
my wife is
passionate.
my wife is the sole reason I'm where I am right now doing these things.
Yep.
Because if I hadn't met my wife, I wouldn't have got into writing the way I have.
Yeah.
If I'm not passionate, I won't even write a book if I don't work hard on it.
Right. Oh, absolutely. I agree there.
Oh, I've given up on books. I've given up on books because I didn't have any passion.
Throwing myself in there with that, that whole, situation was, when I first started, I had no idea what I was doing. I was trying to research, but I wasn't, finding the right stuff. And I went from 2010 to 2015. I was still writing. I was still, participating in the places that I had found. But I had no idea about all these Facebook groups that I'm in now. I had no idea about SciCon. I stumbled on SciCon by complete accident. One of my friends, a mile down the road, she is a memoir author, and she wrote a blog about it. And I happened to be laid off at the time, and I sat down one morning for my coffee, and I usually don't even do this. And I said, but I want to get a little bit of a routine started here. So I sat down, flicked my phone open. There's her blog in my email because I, signed up for her blog. And I clicked on it and I started reading, and I'm like, SciCon, what's this all about? So email closes, phone. Kathy, what's that all about? And the rest is history. I mean, I joined SciCon, and I have learned so much from the course of 2015 and 2016. From that to the present day, I've learned so much. I've met so many different authors. And, and the cool thing about meeting all these authors and networking and it being so important is a lot of these authors offer other things. Some of them are editors, some of them are micro presses, some of them are graphic designers and cover designers or artists. Some of them are publishers, some of them are publicists.
Yeah.
So and the list just goes on and on and on. And the opportunity just to come onto these shows like this,
Right.
Authors Write Aloud. I had started 2 years ago, but I didn't like the format. I didn't like where it was going. I was in a bad place in life. So I literally walked away from it completely, just backed right out. Nope, can't do it. However, over the course of the last few years, I've been watching several shows. I've been watching Writer Imperfect faithfully. I try to catch that at least twice a week, if not all 3 nights. But I also watch Joe's show, Go Indie Now, and the different shows that he offers. And I've also been watching Christy Stratus shows. I've been watching, there's another show that I watch, The Creative Pen. And there's a few others, and I really got some ideas, and I said, I really want to kick this Authors Write Aloud thing off again and redo it. And I loved Joshua's format, so I said, I'm going to try a sort of format as his is, but make it my own, so it develops into something, fun, but we're not doing the same thing.
Yeah, well, I mean, at the end of the day, nothing is original. Everything has been done. So it's a matter of you take what works and try to make it work for you. Put your own spin on it. I mean, come on. The Plotaholics, we're not reinventing the wheel.
Right.
But what we're doing is we're putting our own personal spin on things. And the one thing that I feel like we bring to the table is that most of these podcasts and whatever that do film review, they're not authors. They're movie buffs or whatever. So you're getting like story critiques from the people that do it. So, and I feel like that's something different that we bring to the table. I mean, Maybe some of these guys are. I don't know. I don't listen to every film review podcast there is because honestly, I don't feel like downloading that much crap, and I don't have that much time out of the day.
Right.
I've got books to write. I've got audio books to narrate. I've got Xbox to play. I got a fiance to deal. I've got things to do.
Mm-hmm.
And more importantly, you've still got to have time to watch the films.
Exactly. Like right now, we're getting ready to do our show. Our next show, it's gonna be we're gonna focus on Boys in the Hood by John Singleton, who just passed away, the late great John Singleton, and we're actually gonna do this in memoriam to of his passing. I have watched Boys in the Hood. I don't remember how many times. The movie, I can bring it up in my head and rewatch it as if it's a DVD, but I still have to watch it to do the research for the show. So yeah, man, I ain't got time to watch everyone else's stuff. I got to take care of mine.
Right.
But at the end of the whole point of that tangent, though, is like where you said you walked away from your show and you found ways to make it work. You took bits from column A, column B, and made it your own. And I mean, even as writers, isn't that what we do?
Oh, sure.
I mean, all we do is we take tropes that have already been done because everything has already been done, and we're putting our own stamp on it.
Right.
Yeah. And it's the same from
our own brand on it.
Exactly.
Yeah, from a blogging point of view, when I moved over to my self-hosted site, I took all the lessons I'd learned from my own blog and everyone else I followed, and I've just basically reinvented that blog from the ground up with a whole new, with 5-6 years worth of experience behind it.
Mm-hmm.
Right, and that's really all it takes. I mean, come on. What movie hasn't already been done before? People came out, oh my God, Avatar's the greatest and blah, blah, blah. No, it's Fern Gully in 3D. That's what Avatar
awesome.
is.
It is. It really is.
Know that.
I mean, it's different, but it's practically Fern Gully. I mean, you look at, say, even like, let me think. I'm trying to like, I don't know. Star Wars it's like stories of like samurai and stuff, but it's a space opera. But it's still tales of samurai, of rivaling samurai orders.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, come on. Let's be every vampire movie. Twilight's an exception because it's just like someone must have sold their soul to the devil for that one. But I mean, vampire films are all practically the same with the same basic rules. And even what's his name? The guy who wrote Dracula, the guy who brought it all to us, Bram Stoker, came from other tales of blood drinkers. Everything has already been done. You just put your own brand on it.
Yeah, and it's interesting you mentioned Twilight because one of the topics we covered on Psychon last year for one of the panels was real vampires don't sparkle.
Damn right they don't.
No. And if they sparkle, stake them.
Yeah. And you know what? They don't call girls spider monkey while climbing freaking trees.
Right.
Okay. Matter of fact, when I first started trying to market the Enforcer with Bryce Creed, I put Bryce Creed's a vampire and he don't sparkle. Old school vampire action. Okay. We rip things apart and we don't sparkle.
I'm looking to get some vampire authors together, writers, authors, and vampire buffs together as a group because I want to have an Authors Write Aloud panel just on vampires and stuff and just see where that goes. I think that's going to be a lot of fun because my favorite, and shoot me in the foot if but it truly is my favorite, and that is Spike. Spike is my favorite vampire.
And I'm going to put my hand up as the Brit in the room as to, excuse me, who told me this guy was an American?
And that was the great thing.
That wrecked it for me.
Right.
I had no clue that James Marsters was American. I thought he was a straight up Brit. I mean, and Spike
Thank you. I'm glad I'm not alone.
I thought he was a Brit, and he was amazing. And I'll tell you something right now. Spike really helped help the Buffy the Vampire Slayer show grow.
Mm-hmm.
Like his character helped so much because he was different.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
it was that. And I'll tell you something
he didn't
right
have
now.
all that angst.
Exactly. And the thing was, in his first appearance, this vampire is sitting there and he's blustering, it'll be the best night since the crucifixion. And I was there. You were there. Please. It was so great. And what's funny is that Bryce Creed, now what's funny is that my character Bryce Creed, he's a real smart ass. He sits there, he trash talks, but his younger brother is like the mulatto Irish version of Spike in my mind, because he pokes fun at his brother and everyone's like so deathly afraid of Bryce Creed. And here comes his little brother like, screw him. Fuck him. and every time when I first came up with the character Reese, it's like, yeah, that's my version of Spike right there. Oh, Joe Compton in the house.
Yeah, I see that.
Joe Compton in the house.
Well,
The MVP of the last episode of the Plotaholics. He hates it when I say that. If you listen to the previous episode of the Plotaholics podcast, you have to listen to quad zeros, because Joe Compton just takes the show over at the very end. You'll know what I mean.
Oh, I'm sure. But Joe does really good, and
Joe
I was
awesome.
on like I said, we were talking about Joe's bar earlier from previous years of being part of SciCon, and just the formality thing of Joe's bar and Go Indie Now, and how he handles everything. My big thing every time I saw Joe on the first year or so, and I'll still do it from time to time, is when I see him pop up, and I will type this after I say it, because it's my little thing with Joe, and that is, "Oh, Captain, my Captain."
Oh, yes.
Well, see,
Now, there's a classic story.
Yeah. Well, see, and that's one of the great things there is about being an indie, man, is that we don't have to put on any airs, man. We can just enjoy it. We can enjoy what we do and be who we are. Because some of these guys that are in the big five, they have to do this whole professional. I'm a professional.
Right.
It's like, dude, you're a writer, same as I am. Settle your tits. Settle your tits, please.
Love it. Love it.
Like, I mean, honestly, like it's one of those things where if, Lord willing, I get to a level where I'm, hey, we're gonna option your book series, and now you gotta write these things, and here's money. Here, I'm throwing it at you. That's cool. Now I can pay off my debt. Thanks a lot. Yeah, but you gotta be careful who you talk. Man, I'm an indie author. I don't give a shit.
Right.
I do what I do, and I keep on doing it. And that's the best thing there is about being an indie, man. We got control over our art. No one can tell us how to do it, and we can sit here and we can inspire people to follow their dreams. How many times have any of you guys talked to people? Oh, wow, you're an author. That's so cool. I've always wanted to write a book, so write it. You're no different than me.
Right.
I'm passionate about it and work hard.
Yeah, I just did what you're saying you want to do.
And here's the best part about this. I work with one of the authors who joined us this year.
Oh, sweet.
I actually got talking to her because her and I were both doing NaNoWriMo, another big online community for writers.
Oh, huge.
It's an absolutely fantastic.
Twitter, yeah, I read about it.
If you're one of those people who has a hard time getting going, or doesn't know how to start their book, or where it's going to go, NaNoWriMo is your go-to. They've got so many events go on through the year, including Camp Nano and editing and all the rest of it. There's a huge support network and even local write-ins. But Nikki Hyson actually has joined SciCon for the first year. She just published her first book. She's in the process of editing her second. And this year, she's even doing some of our story time segments for us. And this is her first time coming into an author-based or reader-based event. But because she's heard me talking about it, and because she's heard how fun it is. She's literally just jumped in both feet and gone, that's it. I'm publishing it. It's going out. I've got a publisher, fine, but I've got another book right behind it, and I want to get this going. And it's because of sitting down and just talking.
Yeah.
But the thing I love about being an indie, here's the one thing that people very often forget. We're indies. We can try things that the big industry bodies can't.
They
Mm-hmm.
can't, they won't, because they're afraid to, because it's all about the bottom line.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what's great is that doing events like this keep us from getting, shall we say, unhealthy rivalries. And I found myself starting to do this to like a year or two, a couple years ago. Oh, I got to do better than this guy. I got to do better than this chick. No, we're a community. When one of us thrives, we all thrive. Some might thrive better than others, but you know what? An indie author that makes it somehow, some way, that means other people are going to want to check out other indie authors.
Yep.
So you just got to keep working hard, and that's why I say, make the right friends, get the right role models, the right mentors. I mean, I got so fortunate with TJ Weeks, Kendra Souter, and so many others, because I knew nothing about nothing, and then, where I'm at now, I never thought I'd be here 5 years ago, 6 years ago, 2 years ago,
Oh,
so
I agree wholeheartedly on my end too. Like you said, I didn't know half the people I know now, or have the exposure or the intellect even that I know now as a indie author, indie publisher, than
mhm.
as I know now.
Yeah,
What I like in the indie community is the support system, because when I first self-published my book, I just posted it, and there's a lot of authors that they're like liking it. Instead of them competing against me, they're like, "Oh, you can do it! Congratulations!" That's what I love being part of the indie community. Is the support system. I
it's a
mean,
A,
great.
ni-
yeah.
a nice thing about it, from my point, I love, is because so many of us are at the point where we're supporting each other. An author puts out a new book, great. But how many of us then go out, pick up the book, read it, review it,
Hmm.
or even do a blog post for it?
Exactly.
I mean, that book now, from it's just been posted, now has, I don't know how many new readers, because it's just appeared somewhere else, or it's just gone up in the rankings because of that review. And
Exactly.
that's the kind of level of support you don't get in so many industries.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you make friends, people that you really care about. I mean, Joe Compton, he and I have become such tight buddies. We talk every day. And when I'm having something like serious go on in my life, Joe can tell, and he comes to me and he goes, "What's wrong?" The same
Hmm.
as Kendra Souter does, the way Ed Souter does, the way so many others have. And it's like, Katie Salite is another one, Jason Lavelle. I mean, you make friends and family
Mm-hmm.
in the industry. And I don't think people realize that we've got one of the best being an being an independent author is like you're in one of the best communities there is, because in music you start feuding, you because egos and personalities clash. It happens. I've been there. And in film, I think film and writing are some of the best indie industries that you can possibly be in, because we're all the same. We're all nerds of different caliber.
Oh, absolutely. And
Timothy and I are gamer geeks. Come on.
Hmm.
I'll reflect on that when you're saying we meet people and we're friends and we're and family, and going back to this year, January, with Angela being having to step back from Brain to Books, Psycon, and all of us kind of getting together. Was some of the first chats back and forth. Um, the things that we were chatting about were, we can't let this die. You know, we met
Right.
each other here and we're
Yeah.
family. We're a very close knit family. I mean, there's so many authors that are on here like Timothy, Heidi, Joe, Joshua, Anais, J.D. Estrada. There's so many people that I could mention. If it weren't for Psycon, I wouldn't have them in my life.
And
Right.
here's what I found was the nice thing about it. It wasn't a case of, well, okay, are we going to have a Psycon this year? When Angela stepped back, it was a case of, okay, so if we get Angela's permission, we're having a Psycon, and this is how we're doing it.
Right.
And it was Angela's baby from day one. But the fact that she was so great, willing to hand it off for someone else to handle, and trusted us to do it well, or to do it at all, I think that speaks volumes for what Psycon has become.
I'm just glad. I'm glad to have my own little sliver of the pie.
Well, Brian, trust me. If you're doing voice, if you're doing audios, you don't be surprised if I hit you up next year for trying to do some story times for us.
Yeah, sure, not a problem. I love.
Jump at that.
Ask anyone. I love running my mouth, man. I love running. Please, this thing never stops. I wish it would. It's. I mean, it's a great time to be indies. It really is. It's a great time to be indies because we're changing a lot of things in the industry. All of us are. And I mean, granted, yeah, there are people that are taking like some bigger stances. Some people's splashes might be bigger than others. But if you're an indie author and you're out there and you're doing it, you're making your own splash. How many people can say that?
What I find so amazing about it is how many of the traditionally published authors are now looking at either the hybrid or the indie published route.
Right.
Because they're seeing the effect we're having.
Right. And I mean, there was a time where being an author, number one, you figure in, Richard, you and I, and Timothy, you as well. Not Roxanne, not you so much because you have the blessing of being younger. We're a bunch of old heads. But you remember,
no age for writing.
Yeah, but you remember in the 80s, being an author was one of those things that you could do, have some anonymity, and make tons of money. But at the end of the day, as things start to change, the indies, if people self-publish a book 20, even 20 years ago, it wasn't taken seriously. Then what happened? Twilight happened. But it happened. And what's that other one? The crappy BDSM one that's not BDSM. It's
the one we do. The one we won't talk about.
Yes, that which will not.
It was so badly written.
That which will not be named. It was still an indie work, and in spite of common sense and all that is decent and holy, it became something. But these indie books started taking off.
And the success story for me, the real success story is books like Ready Player One.
Yes. Timothy is now.
Or The Martian.
The fact that you just brought up Ready Player One, you are now one of my new best friends. Ready Player One is such an amazing story, and
it's so much better than the film.
Yes, it is.
So many levels.
Is a travesty, but at least the Ready Player One film is not the Aragon film. Aragon killed the entire series. Fox was gonna do the whole series, and then the movie came out, and it's like, yeah, never mind.
Yeah, and again, another series that took off from an indie.
Yes, Aragon, The Inheritance Cycle, started out as an indie novel and became huge. And Ready Player One, as read by Will Wheaton himself. Oh my God!
Now I've got to pick up.
Yes,
I've got to pick up.
Will Wheaton narrates the audiobook of Ready Player One. And what's really hilarious, he is among the top politicians of the Oasis in the book. Oh man, it's so great.
Okay, I'm actually writing that down right now, otherwise I will forget.
All right. Well, we're running a little over, so I want to take a little bit of time, and I want to everybody to tell everyone where we can find you, where we can follow you, subscribe to a newsletter, find you online, and as Rebecca Jonesy likes to say, stalk you.
Yeah, how can you legally
Yeah,
safely stalk
right.
us?
How can you legally stalk? That's Joshua's coin of phrase.
And it's awesome
Um,
too because it
how
makes
can you
sense.
legally stalk you? And we'll start with Timothy and go around the room, I guess to say, and share that information.
All right. I'm Timothy Bates, an author and pub blogger. I'm available the entirety of this weekend at SciCon. That's owscicon.ourrightside.com for your home. Check us out all over Facebook and everywhere else that we're going to be doing events. But more importantly, you can also follow me at timothybatesonauthor.com, where you can find not just my books, but also my ongoing book blog and reviews.
Okay, Brian.
Well, you can find me at briantan.com. That is, you can find just about all of my everything. I do have to update the website though, but briantan.com, same as my name. You can find me at Brian Tan Author on Facebook and on Twitter, Author Brian Tan on Instagram. You can also find me on Twitter and Instagram at at Plotaholics for the Plotaholics podcast, along with myself and Shane Wilson, film review from author's point of view. And you can find if you search my name on Amazon, my first book, Unbreakable Mind, the sequel to Invincible Heart, is available now from Burning Willow Press. The first novel, Invincible Heart, will be getting the re-release with Burning Willow Press. Pre-order for that for the Kindle version is available now. As soon as we have as soon as it's available for pre-order and print, we will put that out on social media as well.
All right, Roxanne.
Everyone can find me on Facebook. It's www.facebook.com/Roxanne Sanusi. You can find my books there and on my website. And you can follow me on Twitter. It's twitter.com/SJ Roxanne to know about my updates in life. And you can find my books on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, and Cuba, and Mashword. Time Travel is my second book.
Awesome.
Alrighty. Myself, you can find me at author Richard White on all sorts of different places. Over on Discord, it's author Richard White, and it's like, I don't know, a number that goes with it. I still have to fix that problem up there above my head. Um, you can also find me on Facebook, author Richard White, Instagram, author Richard White, and here on Twitch, author Richard White. Twitter, you can find me, R White Author, and YouTube, White Richie, which I am making the switch from YouTube over here to Twitch. But you can find some of the older episodes of Authors Read Aloud over there on YouTube. Thank you very much for tuning in. And if you like the show, please give us a quick follow or donate. Down at the bottom, you can scroll down, click the donate button, and help keep the show running and all that good fun stuff. And the donate is actually a Patreon subscription. You can do either a one-time gig donation or a secondary monthly subscription over there on Patreon to help the Twitch show keep moving. Thank you very much, everybody. It's been great. I appreciate all three of you coming on tonight, even though it's Mother's Day. And once again, all the moms out there in the world, thank you so much and happy Mother's Day.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. It was
Take care.
awesome time.